Howdy folks, Spencer here, and today I want to talk about the Muds Gotten Carried Away bundle that went live on console a couple of weeks ago and is going live on PC today, June 23rd, 2022. This is a Muds bundle entirely focused on carriers. All of the ships in it have 2 hangar bays. As with any Muds bundle, there will be an introductory 50% off sale, and that sale will last through July 7th at 10 a.m. Pacific time. So if you want to get the mega bundle that has all 8 of these options, then that's going to cost you $300 during the sale, $600 outside of it. If you want to get the pick 3 choice pack, it's going to be about $150 during the sale or $300 outside of it. So right off the bat, I'm going to tell you my recommendations are the Xindi Aquatic, the Jem'Hadar Dread, and the Tholian Joragomo. I have a Quas, and I just don't think there's much value to it. When it comes to the Herald ships, the Vomp is the better carrier in that bunch, in my opinion. And this Quas just was never that great of a ship. So the other 3 are going to get my recommendation. Now, these are all Infinity Lockbox ships. There's no Lobby ships. There's no promo ships in this bundle. And because they're lockbox, if you were to try and acquire one of these for a single character, you'd probably want to grab like 100 master keys and sell them at like 12.5 million per. These ships, they're going to be 1 to 1.3 billion on the exchange most of the time, so you'd need about 100 keys to get one for a single character. So it's $100 to acquire one of these for a single character with the traditional means. Whereas with this bundle, if you were to get the pick 3 choice pack, you get 3 of them on account unlock for $150. So if you were after any of these ships, getting the Muds bundle is worth it if you were intending to get even just one of the ships on more than a single character. It's cheaper to buy this pick 3 choice pack than it is to go out and buy like a Jem'Hadar Dread for 2 characters. So definitely those 3 get my recommendation. The Quas, like I said, it sucks. I'm sorry. Now, I'm not going to go over all the console layouts here. I'll include the all of these ships in the description below, the links to the wiki pages if you want to look at them closer. But let's go over the bridge officer seatings here. On the Xindi Aquatic Briostris, we have a Commander TAC, Ensign TAC, Lieutenant Commander Engineer, Lieutenant Science with Command, and Lieutenant Commander Universal with Intel. So you can't do a torp boat on this. It's only going to have access to CF2. You're not going to have CF3 on it. And you're not going to have access to Surgical Strikes 3. So if you're using this ship, you're going to be using like a cannon scatter volley build on it, or you're going to put like a beam overload build on it. Really, that's the 2 most viable options for this ship. You could do fire at will on it. You could do rapid fire. But really, this ship is going to excel under either beam overload or cannon scatter volley. It is a 4-3 weapon setup, and it can equip dual cannons, so scatter volley will work quite well on it. I gotta take a drink here, so I'll hover over the console for y'all. I've done a couple takes on this video. My throat just has not been cooperating today, so probably gonna have to take a few more drinks, as you can hopefully understand. You've got passives on the console here for 10% exotic damage, 20% flight turn rate, and you have a clicky that bounces off nearby friends and foes to debuff enemies. It's only a small -10 debuff, and it's locked to Xindi ships, so the console's fairly underwhelming. For the trait, when you hit a target with beam overload, the initial beam overload hit will cause a chemocyte explosion at the target that will damage itself and anything within 2 kilometers of that target. That will deal some radiation damage and apply a -10 debuff. From what I recall, this trait is not really that significant. If you're a beam overload user, I would not be buying this ship exclusively for this trait. I just do not think this trait does enough to warrant the cost. Overall, this is, a fairly good ship. The pets on it have mines, and they have their own little version of the console that the ship has, the Cascade Resonance. So they can go around and debuff things, but they're not going to be as potent as something like the mesh weavers on the Tholian carrier that we'll talk about here in a couple minutes. So Xindi Aquatic, that's definitely the first ship that I'm going to say or recommend, for those of you getting the 3-pack. I just think it's a really fun ship. It's fun to fly. It does not have a must-have trade or console. The pets on it are locked to it, but it is a really good-looking ship in my opinion, and I have it already on a couple characters. I think it's a really fun ship to fly. It's not meta, but most ships aren't, this can do more than enough. Any of these ships, even the Quas, which I think is really bad, can do more than enough for any content this game has. So, Xindi Aquatic gets my first recommendation. Next up, we've got the Jem'Hadar Dreadnought carrier. This has a Commander TAC, Lieutenant TAC with Command, Lieutenant Commander Engineer with Command, an Ensign Science, and Lieutenant Commander Universal. 4-3 weapon setup. This can do a torp boat. In fact, that's what I used it as a long time ago. Was I had it set up as like a hybrid cannon torp boat in HSC, and it worked really well. This can equip dual cannons also, so if you want to slap like a scatter volley build on it, you can do that. Beam overload would work. Fire at will would work. Any of your standard energy weapon firing modes are going to work perfectly fine on this. And if you want to set it up as a torp boat, it's perfectly capable. It's not going to set records, but it'll do pretty damn good. The trait on this is Dominion Coordination, and after you activate Beam Overload, Rapid Fire, or Surgical Strikes, it buffs the damage of all hangar pets within 10 kilometers of you. So for those of you that like hangars, you're a really big carrier fanatic, this ship is probably a must-have for you, being it's going to have one of the few traits in the game that can boost up your pet damage. So, if you're a carrier fanatic, definitely take a look at that. I'll hover over the console again and take a drink. So the console's got passives, plus 15 flight turn rate, 10 accuracy rating. It's okay, it's nothing too crazy. It's got a clicky on it that you can mark on a target to debuff them, lower their defense. And if you do enough damage to them, 15,000, while the console's active on them, you will shut off a subsystem on them for 4 seconds. It's a very old console, so the damage numbers are set very low. If you have even a Mark 15 turret hit them, you'll probably hit that damage threshold in a shot or two. And this can use the... Did I already go past it? This can use the Jem'Hadar bug ship pets. Oh yeah, I did go past them. So this can use the Jem'Hadar attack ship hangar pets, which are pretty nice. They'll ram things if they're about to die. There's no link to them here, so let me check feature. Let's do Gem. Here's the attack ships. Can I get to the wiki link for them? There we go. So these have some Polaron weapons on them. They got rapid fire, beam overload, and they'll ram a target when they're low. So they're pretty nice pets. I don't think they do a ton of damage, but these used to be extremely popular, and people would go out of their way and spend lots of money to try and get these unlocked. So if you like the gem ships, then the Jem'Hadar carrier is very much worth grabbing with this bundle. Next up, we've got the Herald Quas. This is the ship that I recommend you avoid. For the bridge officer seating on it, we've got a Lieutenant Commander TAC, Commander Engineer, Lieutenant Science with Command, Lieutenant Commander Universal with Intel, and an Ensign Universal. This is a 4-4 setup. Most of these flight deck carriers typically do have 8 weapons on them, but that's to make up for them being a commander engineer. In this case, it has shield frequency modulation and attract fire cruiser commands, so you don't have a weapons command aura there to lower your weapon power costs. So this ship is, it looks cool if you like the Iconian stuff, but 4/4 weapon setup is fine. That's better than what the others had. The bridge officer seating is where this is limited. It's the same issue the Briochers had, except this has a commander engineer instead of a commander tac. You've got a lieutenant commander or a lieutenant science with command, and you've got a lieutenant commander universal just like the Briochers had. So you can't do surgical strikes 3. Surgical strikes rank 1 is worse than beam overload 3 by a mile. You can't do CF3 because this only has access to CF2, so you can't do a torp boat on this. It's really quite limited with what you can do with it. You can set it up with like a fire at will build, a beam overload, perfectly fine. You could put cannons on this, but I probably would not put cannons on this. The trade on it, when you hit a shield heal, it gives you a whole heal basically. It's very small, it's not impactful at all. And the clicky on it is locked to the Herald ships. And the passives on it are max shield capacity and a boost to shield heals. And then you can summon in, for the clicky, an energy gateway that will heal friendly targets, I guess. So it's been a while since I've actually used this thing, but it was never that amazing. This ship is an easy pass out of the 4 that we have in this bundle. Next up, we have the Tholian Gomo carrier. This is a 3/3 weapon setup because this is a science carrier, or at least is classified as one. You've got a Lieutenant TAC, Lieutenant Commander Engineer, Lieutenant Commander Science, Commander Universal with Miracle Worker, and an Ensign Universal. So this is a science carrier. However, the commander seat is universal, meaning you can make this a TAC or engineer if you want. So it's up to you what you do with it. And it is Miracle Worker, so you do get that extra console slot. But the real reason you're using this ship is really for the hangar pets. So the trade-off of this... Actually, let me talk about the pets first, because that's what I just brought up. So, Tholian Mesh Weavers. These Tholian Mesh Weavers are really popular because the elite version of them from the fleet, your fleet starbase will have them. If you have one of these Tholian ships unlocked, you will be able to get these pets that have Fire at Will 3, Attack Pattern Beta 3, which is just massive, because if you have 4 of these things out, so you get 2 per hangar bay, you'll have 4 of them out, and if they all hit their Fire at Will and Beta at the same time, that's 4 copies of Attack Pattern Beta 3. That's minus 200 debuff on everything around you that they're shooting at. So, fairly significant. And they're very good pets. These were the thing for support builds for a very long time, and still are if you're chasing a record in Infected Space Advanced. But they've fallen out of favor in Infected Elite because the pets do have a torpedo on, which means that they can steal CF procs from a DPS player and end up lowering their damage output rather than increasing it. So the Joro is still very useful if you're trying to boost up, say, someone using energy weapons. It's useful for Infected Advanced for sure. It's still a very solid ship, and these do typically get used at a high level of play quite a bit. Just depends on the type of content. The trait off of this ship is Precision Multi-Targeting. When you activate any target subsystem ability, it applies Fire at Will 1 to yourself and gives you 100 accuracy rating for 10 seconds. This is one of the few ways that you can extend Fire at Will's uptime, basically. So when your Fire at Will goes down, you would hit a target subsystem ability, and then this would give you a fire at will to cover, that gap between your actual fire at wills back up. So this is actually a fairly useful trait on some builds. Not every build's going to be able to utilize it, but some are, and it is a good trait for those scenarios. The console is the enhanced Tholian Tetrion grid. This is only usable on Tholian ships. Gives you some aux power and hull capacity. And I'll let you read the clicky there. My throat is just not having it today. So the clicky is an area of effect that will scale based on how many pets you have nearby, and it'll boost the pets up, give them more damage. You can even have this go around a player, and sometimes the player could get the buff. But that's a very niche thing, and I would say to not focus on the console too much for that. But it is a fun console. It's usable with the other Tholian consoles. The trait on the ship is really useful for some tank builds. The ship itself is unique, I like how it looks. It's got an interesting bridge officer setup. Highly flexible. You can run this with a Commander Psi, Commander TAC, Commander Engineer, whatever you want. It'll do a lot of things very well. So I am going to start to wrap things up here because I'm about out of water here and my throat is just not having it today. So I apologize for that throughout this video. This bundle, if you are going out to grab it, like I said, Xindi Aquatic Briostress, Gem Dread, Tholian Joragomo, they're all solid carriers. And having them on account unlock is going to be very nice for a variety of different play styles or builds that you may want to do. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to drop them down below. Once again, I apologize for my throat here. I don't know what's going on exactly, but that's going to be it for today. Thank you to all channel members for helping out. I'm going to have some more content out tomorrow, probably an assessment of that new Terran ship. And I've got a few other videos that I want to get done here in the next couple of days. That's going to be it for today. Thanks for watching. See you all next time.